Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Nazir Daf Chavtes. We are holding on Chavches Amud Beis right after the Mishnah. So in the Mishnah, we were introduced to a new concept. A father can actually initiate Nazirus on behalf of his young son, his underage son below Bar Mitzvah, as we're going to see in the Gemara, exactly what is the cutoff point. Bottom line is, a father can impose Nazirus on his son, so on his son and not on his daughter, and it's only father to his son rather than mother. Ha'ish mother is benoi, but not the isha. Asks the Gemara 3 lines from the bottom, why is this specific to the father? Ish, only a father can do so. Aval isha loy, but not the mother. What's the difference? My time, why? We have 2 answers. Rabbi Yehuda Amar, halacha hi ben Nazir. This is a halacha, l'Moshe mi Sinai, handed down from Sinai by Moshe Rabbeinu. It's a father's deal, not a mother's privilege. That's the way the halacha was given. This is similar to Rabbi Yehuda a couple of days ago with the Mois Tumen. Rabbi Yehuda tells us, Mois Tumen l'Nadava, halacha Moshe mi Sinai. And we had a machlekes between him and Rish Lakish, who learned from a pasuk. Here as well, Rabbi Yehuda says halacha Moshe mi Sinai, and we have Rish Lakish who disagrees. According to the Girsa brought on the side, it's going to read like this. V'Rish Lakish Amar Rabbi Yosi bar Chanina. So Rish Lakish, in quoting the Tana, Rabbi Yosi bar Chanina, differs. He holds it's not halacha Moshe mi Sinai, it's actually midrabanan. Kedei lechancha b'mitzvahs. It's meant to train him, put him on the right track, to get him accustomed to doing mitzvahs, to train himself with in self-control and discipline, and that's why he's imposing Nazirus. Asks the Gemara. So if it's halacha Moshe mi Sinai, it's understood that's the way the halacha was given, dafka the father, not the mother. But according to Rish Lakish, it's mitzvahs chinuch midrabanan yachi afilu ishanami, then applied to the mother as well. Why do we say only the father can do so, not the mother? Answer is kasavar, because Rish Lakish holds ish chayiv lechanech b'noi b'mitzvahs. The chiyuv of chinuch is upon the father. Ve'ena isha chayaves lechanech es b'noi. A mother is not mechuyev. The ikar mitzvahs chinuch is the father, and therefore he will be mother as b'nai, but mother is not the primary mechanech, and therefore there's no chiyuv chinuch on her. She can't apply this nazirus. Asks the Gemara, what about the difference between son and daughter? According to Rabbi Yehuda, who says it's halacha Moshe mi Sinai, amat halacha, that explains why b'nai in this only applies to one's son, but not his daughter. That's the way the halacha was given. According to Rish Lakish, it's just a general, chinuch method. Then afilu bitoy, then apply it to one's daughter as well. Be mechanach in the same fashion as you're being mechanach your son. The answer is kasavar. Rish Lakish holds when it comes to these types of practices, as precious and nazirus, and it's more pertaining, it's more applicable for one's son than one's daughter. Sons tend to get themselves into trouble. We find the Ben Soder and Moira. It's something which pertains primarily to boys. B'noi chayiv lechanchoy, the chiyuv chinuch in this case applies strictly to one's son, and that explains why he can impose nazirus on him, as opposed to bitoy, his daughter. Einoi chayiv lechancha, he doesn't have to train her. And of course, we don't mean general chinuch. Taisus Yishanim in Maseches Yuma, Daf Pei Beis Amud Aleph points this out. He says it's not speaking about the general idea of chinuch. Of course, that applies to sons and daughters as well. Rather, the Gemara here means specifically regarding the nazirus, which the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says gets a person accustomed to precious, gets him into the track of discipline and self-control. That's specific to boys who need that more than girls. So the halacha, the concept of chinuch by nazirus is dafka by your son, not by your daughter. Continues the Gemara, Bishleim with Rabbi Yehuda. Now, it's all well, according to Rabbi Yehuda, Ta'amar halacha ibn Nazir, who presents this entire concept as a halacha Moshe Sinai. That explains why ahachi ben Nazirus it only applies to Nazirus. But Adaram Loibi, you can't just initiate some random neder and impose it on your son. The halacha was specific to Nazirus. Elul Rish Lakish. But according to Rish Lakish, this is just a chinuch concept. You're meant to train your kids in all areas, Nadarim and Nazirus. I feel in Nadarim Nami, why is it specific to Nazirus? You see that your kid needs to be trained, in terms of self-discipline and self-control. Then why not initiate any sort of neder? Why is this limited to Nazirus? Answers the Gemara, you're right. Of course it is. It applies to all types of Nadarim. Loi mibaya ka'amar. Needless to say, Loi mibaya b'Nadarim. It goes without saying that you can apply a neder upon your son. The less nivel, it doesn't create, the same level of deprivation as refraining from wine would do. Apparently in those days, wine was such a basic, staple. It creates nivel. Nivel over here means inoi nefesh. It makes it difficult. It's a deprivation. So certainly, a regular neder, which doesn't involve such extensive nivel, would be mutter, would be recommended. In a chinuch context. Elafilu ben Nazirus, the chiddush is even Nazirus, the islay nivel, which creates a higher level of deprivation. Even so, a father must be on the lookout for his son's benefit, to train him and to be mechanech him in this Nazirus track, despite the fact that it results in evil. Continues the Gemara. Now, again, according to Rabbi Yehuda, we understand if it's based on Nachal Moshe Sinai, right? That explains the next halach in the Mishnah. As soon as somebody turns around and issues a protest, it's over. That explains the halacha in the Mishnah. The child gets up and protests. Or his relatives. This, as such, if they rejected the Nazirus, him or his relatives, they were not willing to accept it, it falls by the wayside. That's the way the halacha was given. You can't just, forcefully impose Nazirus on him. He has to be a willing customer. And likewise, his relatives have to confirm that indeed it's for his benefit. But according to the other shita, it's rooted in chinuch, something which a parent was empowered by Hashem to do. Kol keminan kroivim the amrle, is it it's in the ability of the relatives? Is it their right to tell them the amrle to interfere and tell the father, Loi tigmar mitzvahs, don't teach him mitzvahs? It's none of their business. The answer is yes. That is a litmus test, whether a father is going overboard. Kasavar Rish Lakish holds kol chinuch de lechashiv lenichlei, chinuch which doesn't add honor to the kid. It's mevaz him, it degrades him. He's got to shave his hair off, etc. It's not a positive experience for the child. Lo nichalei, doesn't really want it. Basically, what the Gemara is saying is you can't, in the context of chinuch, you can't do everything. There are limitations. It has to be within the realm of reason. You can't embarrass, insult, degrade the child for the sake of chinuch. So if relatives step in and protest, apparently it's not something beneficial for the child. It's not something that he can tolerate. It's not something that he would take well to. And back off. Continues the Gemara. So we go back and forth between Rabbi Yehuda that it's halacha, and Rish Lakish says it's chinuch and Rabbanan, and see how it all fits together. Says the Gemara, Bishlam with Rabbi Yehuda Damar halacha. According to Rabbi Yehuda that it's halacha, Ibn Nazir, Mishamacha. That explains why Migalech Bavadak Kafa. At the end of his Nazirus, the child will shave, despite the fact that he's doing hakafa, he's removing his payos. That's the halacha that a Nazir does so, despite the fact that he's removing his payos, something which you typically don't do. The mitzvah of Giluach Nazirus overrides the Isser of HaKafas HaRoish. El Rabbi Yisrael B'chanina Rish Lakish. They lechancha b'mitzvahs, but if the whole idea is just a rabbanon based on chinuch, haka avad hakafa. How could this chinuch goal justify all means? How could it justify doing hakafa, removing the payos? It's an isser. The answer is kasavar hakafas kalaresh midrabanan. He'll hold like this. You see, unlike a regular hakafa, which typically entails leaving a head of hair intact, just a payos will remove. So he's sort of hakafa, he's sort of circling the head, he's making a straight line and cutting off the payos. That would be an isser. Certainly an isser midaraisa. But hakafas kalarosh, where a person actually removes all his hair. In the case where he removes everything, his payos together with everything else, that's not asur min haTorah. That's midrabanan. The ikar isur midaraisa is don't remove pa'as roishchem. Don't remove the corners, the edges. When you have a head of hair, don't remove the corners. But if there's no head of hair remaining, it's all shaved off. Min haTorah, it's mutter. It's only isur midrabanan. And therefore, in our situation where we would like to have the child experience Nazirus, to give him that chinuch midrabanan. So you have an equation. On the one side you have a positive element of chinuch midrabanan, which is going to sort of clash with the isra hakafa, but it's hakafas kalarosh, which is merely midrabanan as well. So that was the decision the Chachamim made. The positive overrides the negative. It's like essay deichaleis essay. V'asur chinuch derabanan. And therefore we allow the child to experience Nazirus, even though it's only chinuch midrabanan. He's not really fulfilling mitzvah d'oraisa according to Rish Lakish. It's merely d'rabanan. And it can be done at the expense of hakafa midrabanan. V'dachi, it pushes away hakafa d'rabanan. Furthermore, according to Rabbi Yehuda, says it's halacha Moshe Sinai, achi megaleach, ma'aseh korban. That explains why at the end of the Nazirus, the child will go through the whole process, which is called giluach. You shave and you bring the karbanos. These are legitimate karbanos, which belong in the Beis Hamikdash. El Rabbi Yehuda Rish Lakish, who says it's only kedei lechancha b'mitzvahs, only midrabanan. Min haTorah is not really a Nazir. What's he doing? Bringing karbanos. They're not karbanos. Hakam ma'aseh chul Nazir is bringing a non-carbon into the Azara, bringing it and shechting it and eating it. How could you do that? And these are isurim midaraisa. Tosfos says the bringing the eventual achila of this carbon, if it's chulin in the azara, it's asur b'achila. So how could chinuch the rabbanon justify all these isurim min haTorah? The answer is kasavar chulin ba'azara lav d'orais. Apparently, this shita, Reisa B'chanina, will hold that the isur of chulin in the azara is not min haTorah. It's only midrabanan. So once again, we go back to that equation where the chinuch midrabanan overrides the isur midrabanan. Now, according to Rabbi Yehuda, we understand why we understand why, if this child eventually becomes tamei throughout his nazirus, he'll bring his birds, korban tziparin, and the kohen will eat it despite the fact that there was no shechita done. We know birds brought as a korban in the Midrash go through the milika process, where he takes his thumbnail and does the shechita in that fashion. Now, typically, that's not really shechita. That creates an avela, which is asur b'achila, except where it's done on a korban in the Beis Hamikdash. So, according to Rabbi Yehuda, a child, Nazir, who was tamei, brings birds, which are legitimate, bona fide karbanis. Kohen can eat it. El Rabbi Yehuda Rish Lakish, who holds it's only midrabanan. What's he doing bringing birds? How could the Kohen eat it after malika? He's eating nevela. Min haTorah. Min haTorah, this is not a carbon, which justifies malika. It's a plain nevela. Once again, kasavar Rabbi Yehuda, apparently he goes with the shita, the ein shchita la'if natera. There is no din to shecht a bird. The fact that we shecht birds with a knife, that's only midrabanan. So at worst case, eating this bird after malika is only an issa drabanan. And likewise, the chulin ba'azara lav derais, like we said before, the fact that it's only chulin being brought nazara, that too is only asr ba'achilim and hatayra. So again, back to the same equation. The end justifies the means in this case. The goal is to be machanech the kid, mitzvah derabanan of chinuch, allows us to override all these other rabbinic concerns. Asks the Gemara, is that really so? Is that Rabbi Yehuda Kessler holds, these things are only asim midrabanan, chulin ba'azara is the rabbanan, shchita is only midrabanan by oif. V'savar Rabbi Yehuda hachi v'tanya, Rabbi Yehuda b'daimer. According to Tosfos Geras, Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, which is the same on the Amar as before, we're trying to prove that he holds differently. He doesn't hold these are only midrabanan. Okay, let's go on to a sort of a tangent here. An Isha is not sure whether she needs to bring a chatas or if she's a ledes, maybe she is, maybe she's not. There's a question maybe by Ziva, whatever the situation is, there is a suffix, uncertainty of whether she needs to bring the chatas or if. Can she bring it? Yes. Minayin the chatas or if she bala suffix, she'inin echalas. So you bring it, but you don't eat it. How do you know that's true? Tamalayma, we have a pasuk like this. Vazav zoivay. L'zachar nekeva, the pasuk here connects the man to the woman. Makish nekeva l'zachar, we connect the nekeva and compare it to the zachar. Ma zachar may be karban al avade, just like a man, if he does al avera, avade avera, he's mechal Shabbos, he brings the karban chatas. Af nekeva, mevia karban al avade, the nekeva as well will bring her karbanis. When there is a vadai, a certain definite need to bring the karban. Uma zachar maybe al safak, just like a man will bring his safak karban as well. If he's not sure whether he did the avera, he'll bring an asham tali. Af nekeva maybe al safak. Likewise in nekeva, let's say she's a safak yeleda, she'll bring a karban for the safak as well. Uma zachar memin shu maybe al avade, maybe al safak, just like by the zachar. Just like he brings an animal for a vadai chatas, he brings an animal for asham tali. Af nekeva, same thing by the nekeva regarding her issues. May min shu mevi al avadai, mevi al safek, same type of, let's say, bird that she would bring by a vadai leda. She brings the same bird when it's a safek leda. What about eating the bird? No. Ima zachar maybe karban v'nechal. Perhaps let's compare it further. Just like by the zachar, when he brings an asham tali, you bring it and the kohen eats it. Af nekeva mavia karban v'nechal. Likewise in nekeva, when she brings a chata, so eval asafa, you take it and you consume it. No. Amras, the answer is loy. Im amras bezachar shkein yisur echad. We can fully understand why by the man you'll eat the asham tali, because at most we're talking about one isser here. If he's not really obligated in that carbon, it's chulin bazara. It's one isser. As opposed to the nekeva, where she's bringing a bird misafik, you're getting involved in two possible problems. Which two isurin? Says the Gemara. Well, what do you mean? Which two problems are we alluding to? Apparently, those two isurim we discussed earlier. Lav, perhaps, is it not isur nevela v'chulim bazar? Number one, if this bird is not really, it doesn't really qualify as a carbon. When you do malika, you're turning it into an avela. And likewise, if it's not really a carbon, it's chulin, brought bazar. So you have two Yisur against you. That explains why you will not bring it and eat it. So you bring it, but it's not nechal. Bottom line is, we see that according to Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, these two Yisurim are also in Torah, because that's the context of our discussion. We're talking about a pasuk here, halachim in Torah, and we make mention of two Yisurim. One of which is nevela, which indicates that a bird is meant to have shchita min Torah. So if it has malika, it's a nevela min Torah. And number two, the problem of chulun mazara. And here you go and you tell me, according to the shita, Reis Rechanina, both of these yisurim only with the rabbanon. Maskav l'ravach, brei d'ravika. What do you mean? Who's talking about yisurim min Torah? Maybe when the Brisa said that you're chayiv on it, they don't mean really asam and atayra. B'shem the meschazi kitrein yisur midrabanon. Let's say it like this: that midrabanon, we're not going to have the kain eat the chatas if abala safek because it appears like there are two possible yisur in here. Yisur midrabanon. Right? The Tosfos explains, of course, minatayra you can actually eat the bird because that's the halacha. We have a hekesh in the cave to the zachar. You bring Allah safek, but in the Rabbanon we don't eat it because it presents itself. It looks like there are two yisurim involved, and of course we're speaking about merely yisurim with the Rabbanon as we had proposed earlier, because both yisurim are only with the Rabbanon. Chulin ba'azar is with the Rabbanon according to the shita, and likewise an avela bird is only with the Rabbanon. Because the idea of shchita ba'oif is not menater. Okay. So basically, our proposal still stands. Right? The question was, according to the shita, that it's only chinuch. What if it becomes tummy? How are you going to bring his birds? Answer is, the positive effect of chinuch overrides, is placed in higher value, higher regard, as the other isira de rabbanon. And we're speaking about only isura de rabbanon. Chul mazar is midrabanan, and shchita la'if is midrabanan. Lema ketanai, perhaps this machlekes between Rabbi Yehuda who says that the idea of ish madir as b'nai b'nazir is based on halacha mishum Sinai, versus Rish Lakish who says it's only midrabanan mitzad mitzvahs chinuch. Parallels and machlekes tanai mentioned elsewhere. Ad masay madir es b'nai b'nazir. We spoke about this earlier. There's a deadline. There's a cutoff point. Until what age can a father actually trigger Nazirus upon his son? Tanakama says, until he becomes an adult. Until he becomes, bar mitzvah. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, even before that, a year before adulthood, 12 and a bit, that's called Einas Nadarim. He has enough maturity and independence. He can actually articulate his own nadar, bind himself to his own commitments. That's considered sort of adulthood with respect to father imposing Nazirus. So according to Rabbi 13, according to Rabbi Yehuda, once you hit 12. Ma'alav Tanoi, what is this machlekes based on? Perhaps our discussion. The Rabbi Savar halacha ibn Nazir. Rabbi holds that this whole halacha is Moshe Sinai, and it goes on till adulthood. So even though he's 12 years old and he has some form of independence with respect to Nadarim, no, father still has control until bar mitzvah. Even when he got to the point of Aris Nadarim, his father still has the koyach to impose Nazirus until he really reaches adulthood. That's the halacha mishmir Sinai. That's what it was given. Rabbi Yehuda this Amar actually agil Aris Nadarim, as opposed to Rabbi Yehuda says no, it's up until 12. You know why? Savar, because he holds kedei lechancha b'mitzvahs. It's based on chinuch. Well, chinuch ends when he gains his own independence. V'kiva and the Navek Meshusei, once he hits the point of Einas Nadarim. So with respect to Neder, child is on his own. That's it. You lost control with respect to Nadarim. V'kiva the Navek Meshusei is Sulei Mechai. Child is not bound to his father's initiations. Perhaps that's the machlekes. Amri, the Gemara responds, loy, perhaps not. Dukuli al malachi ben Nazir. Everybody agrees it's halacha mishmir Sinai. So what's the machlekes? V'acha b'mufla samach l'ishka mifleki. The question is, this thing of einas nadarim, which the Gemara calls mufla. Mufla means he could be mafli. He knows how to express himself, responsibly. This ability to articulate nidarim when you are at the point of samach lish. He's a mufla samach lish within the year of adulthood. That ability, that koyach, that capacity to make nidarim. What is it based on? Is it the Rais or the Rabbanon? That's the machlekes. Kamiflaki. Rebbe, who said father's Nazirus only lasts until adulthood. Rebbe Savar mufla samach lish the Rabbanon, because he holds this ability that we give to a 12-year-old is only with the Rabbanon. V'asya da'raisa, and certainly the father's koyach, which is minat Torah, right? it's a koyach min Torah, that comes along and overrides. Dachi, the Rabban, overrides the child's ability, the child's koyach, which is only midrabban. And therefore, Rebbe says, father's capacity extends until adulthood. At which point the child certainly leaves his father's control regarding the Dharm. For Rabbi Yehuda, read the Savar, Mufla Samach Lish Dairaisa. He says the ability of a 12-year-old to make an Dharm is Minat Torah. At which point he gains independence. With respect to Nadarim, father's out of the picture. Another possible pshat is like this. Perhaps everybody holds the other pshat. This halacha in our Mishnah of a father doing Naziris for a son is just midrabanan, on account of mitzvahs chinuch. And likewise, this 12-year-old's nadarim is only midrabanan. So what's the machlekes? Rabbi Savar asay chinuch d'Rabbanan. Rabbi holds that the positive element, this positive chinuch experience initiated by the father, is stronger, is more powerful, is more valuable. V'dachi mufla hasamach lish d'Rabbanan. And we allow it to override a 12-year-old's, independence. Rabbi Yehuda read the Savar, Damar Achegil and Sindar. Rabbi Yehuda says it stops at 12, because Savar he holds Lo Yasichinach the Rabbanan V'Dachli Mufla Hasamach Lish. He holds that the chinuch experience initiated by father is not strong enough to override the Mufla Hasamach Lish, which allows the 12-year-old to say, "Look, let me take over. I'm on my own." Rather than a father imposing, we want the kid to develop and to rise to the occasion and assert his own independence with respect to Nadar. So we stop it right there. Continues the Gemara. But now we found a nice comparison, a nice matchup between our discussion, our Machlekes Tanaim. Rebbe who says fathers and Ziris goes until adulthood. Rabbi Yehuda says until 12 years old. It matches perfectly with another Machlekes Tanaim. Kianei Tanaim, the son. Ma'aseh Rabbi Chanina. It was a story involving Rabbi Chanina, who was at that point a young child. She direi aviv ben Nazir, whose father imposed the Nazirus on him. He brought him to the Nazir, to Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel decided to examine him to see whether he was in fact an adult. Whether or not he produced the two pubic hairs, which would determine his adulthood. So that's one version. Actually, he was just checking to see whether he reached the innocent darim. He was checking his age. Are you 12 or not? So he was about to look into the matter. Amar Lai, so the child of Chanina tells Rabbi Gamliel, don't bother, Rebbe. Don't bother putting in this effort. You know what? Either way, I'm okay with it. If I'm still young enough, under my father's umbrella, I'm fine being a Nazir on account of my father's initiation. If I'm too old for that, okay, I'll accept it upon myself. Either way, I'm good to go. Don't waste your time. Rabbi Gamliel was so impressed with his child's, sincerity and his dedication. Amad Rabbi Gamliel Gamliel gets up and gives him a kiss on his forehead. Amar, he says, Muftachani bazeh shemoira halacha b'Yisrael. He gave him a kiss on his head and he said, I'm guaranteed it's clear this child is destined for greatness, to become a leader, a posek in Klal Yisrael. And in fact, that's what happened. Amru lo hayu yamim ma'atim. Short time passed, and in fact, he developed into a great man. At Shahira Hayra b'Yisrael. This reminds me of a story. The Rogachev, Yosef Rozhin, famous Goin of Dvinsk, sitting by Shalosh Chodesh in Shul, saying a drasha, and he quoted a pasuk. A child calls out from the back. He says, "No, Rebbe. In the pasuk steht nicht so. The pasuk is actually written differently. It says it a bit differently the way you said it." Everybody turns around like shocked. Rogachev was known to be a pretty sharp man, and the Rogachev looks up and points to the boy. Come up. Everybody's like in awe and fear. What's going to happen? Finally, the 6-year-old makes his way up to the Rav, comes over to her side, Rogatchover turns around. He had such nachas. A 6-year-old could correct him. It was just, as humble as can be, as sweet as it can be. Okay, so we have the halacha of the ish mader's b'nei ben Nazir, right? So a father can instigate nazirus upon his son, but this is specific to father and specific to son. Now, how does this work? Rabbi Yehuda says, halacha mishmir Sinai, which was presented specifically in this manner, dafka the father, dafka the son, dafka nazirus. It's a din matter and explains why you can do hakafa, you can bring the karbanis, whether karbanis tahara, karbanis tuma, etc., etc. It's a regular nazirus. According to the Shlakish, it's just an expression of chinuch, which rests primarily on the father, and is something specific to boys, pertaining to self-control, discipline, nazirus, and nedarim. The question was, what about the isurim involved? Isur deiraisa, hakafa. Well, hakafa kol harosh only the rabbanon. What about chulum ba'azara? What about malika? Again, it's only the rabbanon. The positive effect, the positive element of chinuch overrides all that. Now, what's the deadline? Until what point would a child be bound to his father's nazirus? We have a machlekes, either adulthood or oinas nedarim. We discussed the idea of muflas hamach ish, which is either midaraisa or midrabanan, and we concluded with the story of Rabbi Chanina, who impressed Rabbi Gamliel to the extent that he said muftachani, that he's going to be a Meir Rabbi Yisrael, which in fact came into fruition. All the best to you, Hatzlacha Rava, and B'suras Tovas to all of us, and Gans Klal Yisrael.